Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahesh Sharma, and I'd like to start my seminar on quantum computing. I'd like to thank Dr. G.N.R. Prasad sir and Dr. Sadasiva sir. So let's begin with my seminar topic. Uh, let's start with the introduction of quantum computing. So, what is quantum really means? A quantum in quantum computing refers to a quantum mechanism that the system uses to calculate outputs. In physics. In terms of physics, a quantum is the smallest possible discrete unit of any physical property. Usually refers to a property of atomic or subatomic particles such as electron, protons, and neutrons. And then coming to a qubit. A qubit is a small basic unit of information similar to as a classic bits in classical computing, which are zeros and ones. And what is a quantum computing? Quantum computing harnesses the unique behavior of quantum physics, such as quantum position, entanglement, and quantum interference. By applying it to a quantum computing, this introduces the new and traditional ways of programming using these methods. And what is the difference between classical bit and qubit is classical bits are just zeros and ones, which represent zeros and one in classical computing. And quantum bits are they are superposition of all the possible states. This I'll explain in later bit of part of this PPT. So the real world uses of quantum computing is quantum simulations. Quantum simulations are nothing but in quantum computings are exponentially well in modeling the quantum systems only, because they uses quantum phenomenon in this computing in their computing systems. So this means that they can handle complexity and ambiguity of the systems, which are more faster than which overloads the classical computers. Next is cryptography. Cryptography, uh, there's a huge algorithm which is a revert Shamir Alderman algorithm, which is widely used for securing the data transmission. So this relies on interchangeable integral fractions and discrete logarithms. So this really help speed up the process in quantum computing than classical computing. Next is quantum machine learning. So machine learning in classical computing is really overwhelming and pushing the real world in regarding science and mathematical field. So this takes machine learning takes really it requires huge computational cost and process speed. So in quantum computing, the speed is reduced and cost is also reduced. And next is search. In quantum algorithm, like in 1996, a quantum algorithm dramatically speeds up the solution in understructured data searches, which is really faster than classical computing. So the differences, the difference between similar differences between quantum computing and the classical computing is quantum computing calculates the qubits, which are represented as zeros and one at the same time. But in classical computing, the zeros and ones are with the transistors, which represent either zero or either one at a time. And in quantum computing, the power increases exponentially if the number of qubit increases. If the more number of qubits are there, the calculating speed of the quantum computing is more. And in power and in classical computing, power increases as 1:1 ratio. So the if the number of bits are there, and that relates the speed of classical computing. Due to that, due to increasing number of qubits, it also have higher risk of error rates. And in classical computing, the error rate is really low. And quantum computing is well suited for uh, optimization task and data analysis and simulation problems, which I'll explain in later part of the PPT. And In classical, most day-to-day processors are used. So why do we need quantum computing? Until now, we have relied on supercomputers to solve most problems. These are very large and classical computers, often with more CPUs and GPU cores, which we have seen like as a param and all. So, however, supercomputers aren't that good in solving certain problems, which may seems to be easy, but has a really uh, turning point in them. So imagine if we want to arrange 10 people at a dinner party table. So at certain point, this problem becomes more complex, which we may see. So how like there are many multiple combinations which we can approach, and we need to find one optimal solution. So with two people on the table, suppose out of 10 we are taking just two. So with two people out of in a table, how many combinations do we need to perform? So there are two combinations with two people, and similar with five people, there are 120 combinations. So if like we initially we need to arrange 10 people, then for 10 people it takes around 3 million combinations to adjust them around the table. So this is calculated by the if n numbers are there, so n factorial will be there. So the formula followed, n into n minus 1 into n minus 2, so on. Then these kind of large versions may like stumps are supercomputers, because supercomputers do not have much memory space to hold myriad number of combinations. And yeah, so supercomputers don't have much working memory load to hold myriad combinations of real world problems. And supercomputers have to analyze each and every combination one after the another, which may take long time. So optimization problems are these are the some more applications by optimizing problems. The logistic company suppose the logistic company delivering to 50 cities want to know more optimal routes to save the fuel cost. Next is the investment company wants to balance risk and their investment portfolios. And the other is the pharmaceutical company wants to simulate molecules to better understand drug interactions. Okay. Uh, then since 2017, IBM Quantum has been working with the Mercedes-Benz. This is a one real-time example. Working with Mercedes-Benz with to getting a new generation electric vehicle through quantum battery technology. So why are these? Why are they faster? Why quantum computing is faster? So they are faster because they activate the spread. They activate the spread in the sense the machine is activated by creating an equal superposition of all two n states. Superpositions are nothing but suppose if we flip a coin, so we can see if we are able to see a zero like a head and tail at the same time, that is a superposition of the coin. So they activate the spread, then they encode the problem. Encoding the problem in the sense the machine apply gates like AND gate, OR gate, NOR gate. They apply gate and they put information into the phase and amplitudes the two end states. Then they unleash the power. The machine comes to a solution by using the physical principles of interference, the physical uh, principles of interference, and they magnifies the solution, uh, which is correct answer, and then they shrink the incorrect answers. Yeah, then they incorrect this shrinks the incorrect answer. Some of the problems required second and third step iteratively, so they can get the optimal solution. So why does it matter means there is a one algorithm in quantum computing, which is Grover's algorithm. In Grover's algorithm, suppose we need to find one item in a list of n items. On the classical computer, you would have searched n by 2 items on average. And in worst case scenario, you would have search all the n items. So that is a lot of time, and that's a huge number of complexity which we get, time complexity which we get. And but by using Groover's algorithm on quantum, you would have find the item after only roughly around nth root. So that is really less time complexity which we can get with the Groover's algorithm in quantum computing. So as an example, if we take if we want to find one element in 1 trillion numbers, so each time calculating, which takes 1 microsecond to check. So about in classical computers, it takes about 1 week to find one in 1 trillion number, one in 1 trillion number. But in quantum computers, it takes only just 1 second to find one number in 1 trillion. You can calculate, you can suppose the speed of quantum computers. So how does quantum computer works? So as with the potential input which I have given, you may imagine that it is a huge it will be a huge in size, but rather it is just a domestic fridge size, and it comes with the accompanying wardrobe size a box which contains all the electronics, working electronics with it, and quantum bits, and there are quantum bits present in it. They require quantum bits. So if we look inside the supercomputer, quantum computers, we find superfluids. Superfluids are used to chill the superconductors about 100 degree above the absolute zero. So in physics, absolute zero is a temperature where which is the least temperature taken by the, considered by the law of physics, which is 0th Kelvin. That is equal to minus 273 degrees Celsius. So that is the least temperature considered by law of physics. Then superfluids are used. Then superconductors are used. Superconductors are when electrons are passed through superconductors, they pair up with something called as Cooper pairs, and those Cooper pairs are passed through a tunnel that is called as Josephson junction. Then controller comes. Essentially, it is a superconducting qubit. Like by firing photons at a qubit, we can control its behavior and get it hold, and we can read information from it. And then superposition comes. Superposition isn't like a cube in superposition. Qubit isn't very useful, but forming multiple qubits with each other, and it creates a really vast computational space in which we can calculate more complex problems in the space, and like using computer programming gates. Then entanglement in quantum entanglement allows like qubits which behave randomly. They're like qubits behave randomly. Entanglement allows like it to be correlate with each other. Like if we if we entangle more qubits, so by just taking measurements of one qubit, we can find the relativity of other qubit also. So if we entangle more qubits with each other, it really helps us to find more complex problems in quantum computing. So these are my references, and thank you. I'd like to conclude my seminar here. If there are any questions.